The system we have now has actually broken down, only we haven't quite recognized it. And so you need to create a new one. And this is the time to do it. A decline in the value of the dollar is necessary in order to compensate for the fact that the U.S. economy will remain rather weak, will be a drag on the global economy. China will emerge as the motor replacing the U.S. consumer.
We have been leapfrogged by others, by digital currency, by digital Chinese currency. Why? Because, frankly, our central bank has been slow. And there's an appointment coming in January of 22. The president's got to decide whether to change over who's leading the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve runs our payment system. And I think we need to move that Federal Reserve into the modern era.
No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
Mr. President, I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
Look, I want to see us do strong crypto regulation. But what I don't want to do is see the United States government just sign off on very weak regulation that has been written by the industry. The problem with the stablecoin bill and the clarity bill in particular is that they don't do anything about the Donald Trump corruption that is occurring right out in plain view. They also don't put enough safeguards in place for consumer protection to make sure that terrorists and human traffickers and drug traffickers can't use the system, and guardrails to make sure that crypto isn't used to blow up our entire economy. So I'm very worried about that, but I want to add one more twist, and that is the clarity bill has all those problems, but it also has a provision in it that would let any company listed on the New York Stock Exchange opt out of SEC regulation by just digitizing themselves, put themselves on the blockchain, and all of a sudden it turns out that Amazon or Meta or General Motors is no longer governed by the SEC. You do realize that literally would blow up the value of the New York Stock Exchange. That whole stock exchange has been a goose that has laid a lot of golden eggs for people in New York City, for people around the country and around the world. And this would basically just take a baseball bat to it by saying any company that doesn't want to have its books audited and make sure that it's following certain consumer protections and so on can just go somewhere else and be traded on the blockchain. There is nobody in Congress who should support that?
I think, to be honest, this is a bit of a failure on the industry's part to play this the correct way politically. I think it was a mistake to have all three of these bills voted on at the same time, as opposed to starting with the Genius Act, which is a sort of important must pass and what should be uncontroversial bill to provide a regulatory framework for stablecoins. And then I think it's a failure to educate some of the key folks involved. I think there are some Republicans who feel like they don't really understand what this legislation is about, and the crypto industry needs to do a better job to fix that. And I think that there are some members, especially of the Freedom Caucus, who are a little bit confused about the difference between a private stablecoin and a central bank digital currency, and that we as an industry need to do a better job describing why those two things are distinct and should not be treated the same way. But I think that the future of crypto legislation really does sort of hang on whether we are able to get the Genius Act specifically passed into law or not. If we do so, I think that will provide momentum for future legislative efforts. And I think if that doesn't happen, it's going to be very hard to convince House leadership to take up crypto legislation in the future.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And you know I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you go join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Trump again on Epstein. And Trump and the mainstream media are playing nothing but the Hegelian dialectic. We know the people. We already know the list of main people anyway. And we know Bill Clinton and Bill Gates are the top two. But they've already admitted they was on the island. And this list will be released when absolutely no one cares. We know at the end of the day, those who are in the club are never held accountable. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we have Elizabeth Warren playing the Hegelian dialectic when it comes to crypto. Says that corporations, if they go on blockchain, are not held accountable to the SEC rules. Right now, big banks and big corporations are not held to the SEC rules. So that wouldn't be any type of change. And we know the big banks are the biggest what? I'll let you finish that. And we see that Trump is rushing these three bills through because it's now time to build the fourth industrial revolution. Once we get the crypto bill and the Clarity Act, it's off to the races because this technology is ready to go. All we need is the regulation. Now we have ASML gives out a warning when it comes to tariffs. And next year, we're definitely going to enter into a trade war and currency war. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, it's going to affect a lot of countries. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the Fed's Beige Book giving warning for year end. And going towards the end of the year, we know a lot of companies hire due to the holidays, but we know these machines are starting to replace the people. So you're definitely going to see less hiring. But then also in 2026, we're going to see these layoffs pick up and also the machine takeover. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And Trump has said plenty of times he won't fire Jerome Powell. Of course, the mainstream media says otherwise. And Jerome Powell only has 10 more months. So whether it's now or 10 months later, he's going to be able to ride off in the sun while America crumbles. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the Fed is not going to be cutting rates this month. And we should get a better picture when it comes to tariffs by September on whether Trump is just kicking these tariffs down the road. But we know he's going to ride these tariffs inside the fourth industrial revolution. But also he knows he has to refinance close to $10 trillion at the end of the year. And that's why he keeps pushing the Fed to lower rates. He knows the ticking bomb that's right around the corner, but the sheep have no clue. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, It's all planned out. Y'all have a wonderful day.
This one will make you sit up. Shares of ASML are taking a dive after the Dutch chip equipment maker said they may not see growth next year because of tariff uncertainty. Deirdre Bosa here for Tech Check. And Deirdre, this is the sort of chip machine maker. So if they're not doing well, and it's not just today, they've been down like 20% the past few months, then how can the rest of the AI space be doing well?
That's exactly the question. ASML is one of one. It is the choke point in advanced chip manufacturing, the only company in the world, in fact, that makes the tools needed to produce cutting-edge semis. So its warning raises concerns for the broader AI trade, which has largely been smooth sailing lately. NVIDIA at $4 trillion, massive data center buildouts, CapEx rising, strong sentiment. But now ASML may be a reminder that friction could be building at the infrastructure level. If fab tools get tangled in tariffs, that could threaten timelines, cost structure, even the geographic balance of AI hardware build-out. So that's why you're seeing this news hit not just ASML today, but the semi and tech trade at large.
And see Beige Book. Businesses appear to be in something of a holding pattern, is my interpretation, as they're braced for what they think might be coming later this year. But the top line was economic activity increased slightly from late May through early July, the period this Beige Book covers. 5 districts, the Fed says, reported slight or modest gains. Only 2 districts noted a modest decline in activity, so that was better than the last report. But overall, the outlook was neutral to slightly pessimistic. Only 2 districts say they expect economic activity to increase. Others foresaw flat or slightly weaker activity. And the biggest theme, once again, seemed to be uncertainty, which remained elevated. That then contributed to ongoing caution by businesses. And that was most apparent in the labor market. The Fed says employment increased very slightly overall. Hiring remained generally cautious, which many of their contacts attributed to ongoing economic and policy uncertainty. And then looking ahead, many of them expect to postpone major hiring and layoff decisions until some of that uncertainty has diminished. Now, layoffs were limited overall, somewhat more common among manufacturers. And then as for inflation, prices increased across districts, either moderately or modestly, mostly similar to the previous report. But in all 12 districts, businesses reported modest to pronounced input cost pressures related to the tariffs. They say that was especially for raw materials used in manufacturing and construction. Many firms, they say, passed on at least a portion of cost increases to consumers through price hikes or surcharges. Some of them held off raising prices because of growing price sensitivity among consumers. But interestingly, guys, contacts in a wide range of industries, the Fed says, expect cost pressures to remain elevated in the coming months, and they say that increases the likelihood that consumer prices will start to rise more quickly by the end of the summer.
As far as I know, really gotten to public remarks about firing the chair of the Fed. I do believe that would be a terrible idea. And, you know, even putting myself in the administration's shoes, I don't see how it helps them at all. It certainly would not be a pro-growth strategy. It certainly would not necessarily, even if you get a chair in there who will lower short-term rates, it wouldn't necessarily lower long-term rates, which I know that President Trump and his Treasury Secretary have been focusing on.
So what they are waiting for are 2 things. One is they want clearer evidence of weakening in the labor market. And the second thing is, I think they are hesitant to move given the amount of political pressure. I think they should be cutting this month, but I don't expect them to cut this month.
Cutting with unemployment at 4.1, Mohammed?
Yes, because what you're seeing is we have stabilized in terms of inflation, and we can live with a stable inflation rate of 2.5% to 3%, and that's where the various components, Carl, are going to settle. We have growth at around 1.5%, and we have significant fiscal stimulus in the pipeline. So we have a good demand-driven economy right now. The key issue is to focus on the supply side, is to make sure that we get the productivity enhancements that we need so that the supply side catches up with the demand side.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.